You've probably heard of the iconic American Western TV show The Rifleman, starring Chuck Connors as the widowed rancher Lucas McCain and Johnny Crawford as his son Mark. Set in the rugged New Mexico territory during the 1870s and 1880s, the show brought to life the struggles of a father and son living in a town that unexpectedly became a magnet for sharpshooters and outlaws. With its rich storytelling and unforgettable characters, The Rifleman has earned its place as one of the greatest westerns to ever hit the airwaves. But behind the scenes, there are some startling secrets about the show that you might not know. The Rifleman aired for 5 seasons and became one of the most talked about television series from the late 1950s to the early 1960s. Created by Arnold Levin and developed by Sam Peckinpah, the show quickly gained popularity for its action-packed storytelling and strong characters. Levin, a recognized creator, helped shape the direction of the series, while Peckinpah, known for his legendary work in Western films, brought his distinctive vision to the series as a developer. His skill in crafting action scenes and developing characters set the show apart from other television programs of the era. The show featured the life of a widowed rancher, Lucas McCain, who was raising his son in the untamed West. This setup allowed for a mix of family drama and thrilling action. Both Levin and Peckinpah were celebrated for their contributions to Western television and cinema, and The Rifleman remains a defining part of their legacies in the world of television westerns. The Rifleman was a television series that debuted in 1958, and it quickly became one of the most iconic westerns of its time. The show's excellence was evident in every aspect, from the detailed set design to the strong performances by the cast. Set in the 1880s in the fictional town of North Fork, New Mexico, it captured the essence of the American frontier. The set was meticulously crafted to resemble a dusty western town, complete with saloons, small houses, and wide open spaces. It provided a perfect backdrop for the gripping stories of survival, justice, and family life. The cast played a significant role in making the show successful. Chuck Connors, who portrayed Lucas McCain, the show's main character, brought depth to the role of a single father and skilled gunman. His portrayal of McCain, a man of honor and integrity, resonated with audiences. His son Mark McCain was played by Johnny Crawford, whose performance as the innocent yet adventurous boy was heartwarming. The father-son dynamic was a central theme of the show, and it allowed for rich character development over time. Behind the scenes, the series was driven by skilled writers and directors who understood the importance of both action and emotional depth. The show was notable not only for its thrilling gunfights, but also for its life lessons. Episodes often revolved around themes of justice, personal responsibility, and the complexities of human relationships. Lucas McCain, though a gunfighter, was portrayed as a man who valued life and sought peaceful resolutions whenever possible. These moral lessons resonated deeply with audiences. The reason for the show's eventual end, after 5 successful seasons, was a combination of factors, including declining ratings and changes in the television landscape. By the early 1960s, the Western genre was beginning to lose its dominance on TV. The Rifleman had already aired 168 episodes when it was canceled in 1963. Despite its cancellation, the show left a lasting impact on television and westerns, with its innovative approach to storytelling and character development. Chuck Connors initially turned down the lead role of Lucas McCain in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman due to the insufficient pay offered. At the time, Connors felt that the compensation did not reflect the demands of such a pivotal role. As a result, the producers explored other options, considering actors like James Whitmore and John Anderson for the part. However, after further deliberation and evaluating Connors' potential to bring the character to life, the producers realized that he was the right fit for the role. They ultimately agreed to meet his salary demands, recognizing his value, and ensuring that he was cast as the iconic Lucas McCain. This decision would go on to define Connors' career and the legacy of The Rifleman as a cornerstone of American television. The 1958 TV series The Rifleman became a significant hit, with its lead actor Chuck Connors playing the role of Lucas McCain, a skilled and rugged rancher. Connors' strong chemistry with child actors, especially from his previous work in Disney's Old Yeller, became a key factor in his selection for the show. Producers were so impressed with his natural rapport with young actors that they realized he was the perfect fit for the role of the loving father and tough gunman. This realization led them to offer Connors a higher salary, reflecting the importance of his presence in the series. The iconic rifle used by Connors in The Rifleman was also a crucial element of the show. adding to its legendary status. It wasn't just any rifle, it was an 1892 40-40 rifle, the same type used by John Wayne in the classic film Stagecoach. This connection to a film legend helped solidify the rifle's place in Western television history. Its unique features, including its rapid-fire ability, became one of the standout elements of the show, contributing to the character's memorable action scenes. The gun became synonymous with Connor's portrayal of Lucas McCain, enhancing his image as both a capable father and a formidable protector. The Rifleman, a TV series set in the 1870s and 1880s, is known for its iconic portrayal of the American West. However, the show contains several historical inaccuracies, most notably with its firearms. One of the primary issues lies in the rifle carried by the protagonist, Lucas McCain, played by Chuck Connors. He uses a modified Winchester Model 1892 rifle, which was not even produced until later, well after the time period the show is set in. This anachronism stood out to viewers, as the show was meant to reflect the late 19th century, but the rifle in use was from a much later era, throwing off the historical authenticity of the series. Additionally, the origins of the show are rooted in the early days of television, where many westerns were written with a mix of accuracy and creativity. Sam Peckinpah, a renowned author and director later known for his groundbreaking work in the western genre, originally wrote the pilot script for Gunsmoke. However, significant script changes were made before it became The Rifleman. These changes were pivotal in shaping the show into what it became, with its emphasis on the relationship between father and son and the action-packed elements that became its signature. Despite its historical inaccuracies, The Rifleman became a classic, partly due to its dynamic performances. The 1958 TV series The Rifleman stands out due to its unique character development and portrayal of Lucas McCain, created by Sam Peckinpah. The show reimagined McCain as a widowed father raising his son, Mark, in the rough, untamed West. The decision to make Lucas a widower added depth to his character, showing his struggle not only as a father, but also as a man carrying the weight of a past loss. This backstory became central to his identity, shaping his protective nature and his interactions with other characters. In a significant departure from the usual Western hero, armed with a pistol, Peckinpah also introduced Lucas McCain as a rifle sharpshooter. This change highlighted McCain's remarkable ability to handle his rifle with precision and skill, setting him apart from the traditional gun-slinging protagonists. What made his talent even more unique was his ability to shoot with both hands, a rare and impressive skill that fans of the show noticed, even though it wasn't always a focal point on screen. This left a lasting impression on viewers, who saw McCain as not just a rugged figure, but a man with an extraordinary and almost mystical proficiency in marksmanship. His two-handed shooting became one of the defining features of his character, adding a layer of intrigue to his persona, even if it wasn't the show's main emphasis. The TV series The Rifleman, which aired in 1958, featured an impactful and strong portrayal of the relationship between a father and his son through the characters of Lucas McCain and his son Mark. Lucas, a determined and responsible father, often engaged in lengthy conversations with Mark about important life lessons, such as morals and personal responsibility. These conversations showcase the depth of their bond and the values Lucas wanted to instill in his son. The show explored themes of growing up, learning right from wrong, and the consequences of one's actions, all seen through their father-son dynamic. In real life, the actor who played Lucas McCain, Chuck Connors, had his own struggles. Connors, known for his strong and rugged persona on screen, was a heavy smoker, consuming around 60 cigarettes a day. This addiction ultimately took a toll on his health, and he passed away at the age of 71 from lung cancer and pneumonia. His death highlighted the dangers of smoking and the long-term health effects it can cause, despite the strong, heroic roles he portrayed on screen. The connection between Connor's real-life struggles with smoking and the fatherly character of Lucas McCain in The Rifleman adds a layer of depth to the show, especially when considering how the show emphasized the importance of personal responsibility and making wise choices. Through both his on-screen portrayal of Lucas and his off-screen life, Connor's story serves as a reminder of the lessons imparted on the show, particularly regarding health and the well-being of one's future. Lucas McCain was the first widowed parent to be depicted on American television raising his son alone, a groundbreaking portrayal that challenged the traditional family dynamics often seen on TV at the time. The show, The Rifleman, premiered in 1958 and highlighted McCain's life as a single father, a rare and innovative representation of a father-son relationship in the media. This portrayal not only reflected the struggles and joys of raising a child alone, but also served as a cultural shift, showing that men could be nurturing parents, a role typically reserved for mothers in the media landscape of the 1950s. In addition to McCain's role as a father, the actor who portrayed him, Chuck Connors, had a distinguished sports career that added an interesting layer to his portrayal of Lucas McCain. Connors was a versatile athlete before becoming an actor. He played professional basketball for the Boston Celtics, and later baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs. His athletic abilities were well known, and his connection to sports helped give him a certain rugged authenticity that resonated with audiences. Connors was also drafted by the Chicago Bears, though he didn't play in the NFL. This combination of athleticism and acting talent made Connors a compelling and charismatic figure on screen, and it contributed to his portrayal of the strong, yet emotionally nuanced, father in The Rifleman. The combination of these elements, widower representation, and Connors' sports background, added depth and realism to the show, making it not just a Western, but also a significant cultural commentary on fatherhood and masculinity. Connors' sports career, with its emphasis on teamwork, discipline, and resilience, translated well into his role as Lucas McCain, a man who had to balance his duties as a parent while facing the challenges of living in a rough frontier town. The show was not only a reflection of the times, but also a precursor to the evolving representation of family life on television. The Rifleman was often seen as a violent show, especially when compared to others airing at the same time. Its portrayal of intense action was made even more striking by the show's main character, Lucas McCain. McCain's distinctive weapon, a lever-action rifle, became a symbol of his character's quick and decisive shooting skills. His fast, accurate shooting was a major part of the show's appeal, but also contributed to its reputation for violence. The series often involved dramatic shootouts and tense confrontations, making it stand out among other westerns of the time. McCain's gunfighting abilities were not just a spectacle, but also a key aspect of the character's identity as he took on various threats to protect his family and the town of Norfolk. In contrast to McCain's stoic and capable demeanor, the show also explored the struggles of Michael Torrance, the town's marshal. Torrance, unlike McCain, was portrayed as a deeply flawed character. His battles with alcohol addiction added a layer of complexity to his role. As the town's lawman, he often found himself overwhelmed and unable to maintain control, especially during moments of crisis. In these times, Torrance would often turn to McCain for help, relying on his strength and skills to restore order. This dynamic between McCain and Torrance became a key aspect of the show, showing not just the action-packed nature of the Old West, but also the human vulnerabilities that existed behind the badge. While McCain was the symbol of justice, Torrance's struggles reminded the audience that even those in positions of authority were not immune to personal demons. This mix of fast-paced action and the exploration of deeper, more personal struggles made The Rifleman stand out as both a show of its time and one that resonated with audiences long after its original run. Its depiction of violence was balanced with moments of humanity, where characters like McCain and Torrance showed that even in the roughest of times, there was room for compassion and growth. The show left a lasting impact, not only through its thrilling action but also through the complex relationships and character development that unfolded on screen. In the 1958 TV series The Rifleman, Johnny Crawford, who played Mark McCain, had a favorite episode titled Division. In this episode, Mark finds himself caught in a difficult decision, one that tests his love for both his mother and father. The plot revolves around Mark being faced with the choice between staying in a peaceful, idyllic place with his mother or returning to live with his father, Lucas McCain. The episode was deeply emotional, as Mark's journey highlighted the tough decisions children sometimes have to make when it comes to family. What made this episode particularly special for Johnny Crawford was the physical challenge he faced while filming it. Due to a high fever, the episode was shot over 9 days, making the production more difficult than usual. Crawford had to push through his illness, but he was committed to delivering an authentic and emotional performance. The episode was one of those rare moments in a series where the emotional depth of a character's personal struggle was portrayed so effectively, making it stand out in Johnny Crawford's career and in the legacy of The Rifleman. The touching theme of family and the internal conflict Mark experienced resonated with viewers, making The Vision not just a favorite of Johnny Crawford, but also a memorable episode for fans of the show. The Rifleman made a significant impact on television, presenting a fresh dynamic of a father-son relationship set against the rugged backdrop of the American West. Chuck Connors, portraying Lucas McCain, a widowed rancher with a remarkable skill for handling his Winchester rifle, formed an endearing and believable duo with Johnny Crawford, who played his son Mark. This father-son bond was central to the show's identity, breaking new ground as one of the first primetime series to focus on a widowed father raising his child. Set in the small town of North Fork, New Mexico, the series revolved around Lucas' efforts to manage his sprawling ranch while guiding his son through life's tough lessons. The town's residents, who greatly admired Lucas, often sought his help in times of need. Lucas's role extended beyond that of a rancher, as he frequently stepped in to serve as an interim lawman whenever the town marshal, Micah Torrance, was absent. This sense of moral responsibility and community engagement made the character of Lucas McCain stand out as a symbol of integrity. The show's storytelling often included Lucas teaching his son important lessons about right and wrong, highlighting his deep sense of honor and fairness. One notable example is the episode in which a local bank attempts to gain Lucas's trust as an investor. His refusal to open an account, despite the pressure from other townspeople, showcased his personal principles, reinforcing the themes of individual integrity. The opening sequence of each episode, with Lucas storming down the street and firing his rifle with unmatched speed and precision, was always a thrilling and defining moment of the series. The music, composed by Herschelberg Gilbert, played a significant role in building the atmosphere. Its orchestral score effectively heightened the tension of these moments and helped to establish the emotional tone of each scene. Despite some repetition in musical cues, Gilbert's composition remained a key element of the show's success. The show also had a roster of talented directors, including Sam Peckinpah, known for his work on The Wild Bunch, and Richard Donner, who later achieved fame for the Lethal Weapon franchise. These directors brought their unique styles to the series, which helped maintain its high production quality throughout its 168 episodes. Director Joseph H. Lewis helmed the most episodes, ensuring a consistent vision that contributed to the series' success. Despite a strong start, The Rifleman experienced a decline in ratings as its seasons progressed. Initially ranking in the top 5 during its first season, the series slipped to 13th in later seasons, and ultimately faded from the top 30 in its final season. This decline may be attributed to changing tastes in television programming or the difficulty of maintaining audience interest after the initial novelty wore off. Nevertheless, The Rifleman remains an iconic Western television series, largely due to its memorable characters, moral lessons, and its exploration of fatherhood and integrity in a lawless world. It stands as a classic example of 1950s American television, blending action with deep personal values and showcasing the evolving complexity of relationships during that era. As the dust settles on the classic tales from The Rifleman, you might be wondering what life had in store for the stars who once rode through North Fork. This bonus part is more than just a look behind the scenes. It is a journey through personal stories, surprising turns, and the lasting impact each member of the cast left beyond the final credits. Discover which faces carved out new chapters in Hollywood, who stepped into unexpected roles, and who carried memories from the show into their own lives. Unravel little-known facts and poignant twists that reveal these actors weren't just characters on the screen. They were people whose destinies continued to unfold long after the camera stopped rolling. This next segment doesn't just answer what happened, it reveals how their lives shaped and were shaped by their time on The Rifleman. Johnny Crawford, known for his role as Mark McCain in the 1958 television series The Rifleman, was a promising young actor who captured the hearts of viewers across America. As the son of Chuck Connors' character Lucas McCain, Mark was often seen as the voice of innocence and youthful wisdom, serving as a key emotional anchor in the show. His character, a boy of courage and moral clarity, was integral to the series, offering a tender contrast to the often gritty and intense Western backdrop. After The Rifleman ended in 1963, Johnny Crawford's career faced many twists and turns. Although he had begun his career as a child actor, his transition to adult roles was never smooth. Crawford attempted to branch out into music, releasing several singles in the 1960s, with Cindy's Birthday being a minor hit. However, his music career never truly took off, and he remained mostly relegated to guest roles in television shows. Crawford's personal life became more turbulent over time. In the 1980s, he found himself embroiled in scandals, including legal troubles and financial difficulties, which clouded his earlier image. Yet, despite these personal challenges, Johnny Crawford's life took even darker turns. In the early 2000s, he was diagnosed with a debilitating neurodegenerative disease that would eventually leave him largely incapacitated. His health struggles were compounded by mounting medical bills and a sense of isolation. Though he continued to receive support from a small circle of family and friends, much of the world had forgotten about him by then. Johnny's final years were spent away from the spotlight as he quietly fought against his illness. The last known information about Johnny Crawford is from the mid-2010s, where he was reported to be struggling with the disease, but continuing to fight with a sense of resilience. His passing in 2021 marked the end of a tumultuous journey, one that had once been filled with stardom and promise, but ultimately led to a quiet, fading exit from the public eye. His legacy, however, lives on in The Rifleman, a show that continues to be remembered fondly by fans of classic television. Lee Van Cleef's portrayal of Dan Maury in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman marked one of the actor's early forays into the world of television, but the role was one of many that solidified his reputation as a compelling, often sinister character in westerns. Dan Maury was a bitter and morally ambiguous figure, a character caught in the tensions of a lawless world, always toeing the line between good and bad. His performance was marked by a cold, calculating presence that captivated viewers and demonstrated Van Cleef's ability to embody tough, complex figures. Beyond The Rifleman, Van Cleef would go on to star in a variety of westerns, perhaps most famously in For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, films that elevated him to cult status in the spaghetti western genre. However, his journey to success wasn't simple. Van Cleef, born in 1925 in Somerville, New Jersey, had to work his way up in Hollywood. Despite his strong screen presence, it wasn't until his role as the villainous Angel Eyes in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly that he truly found his iconic image. But Van Cleef's personal life was marred by struggles and difficulties. He battled addiction to alcohol, a personal demon that he would spend years wrestling with. There were also rumors about his temper and his strained relationships with family and colleagues. Some reports suggested that his darker side, one that he portrayed so convincingly on screen, may have reflected a more complex personality off camera. He was reportedly a man who became increasingly reclusive as his fame faded, leading to a strained relationship with both his fans and Hollywood's elite. Despite these challenges, Van Cleef's career saw a resurgence in the 1970s and 1980s, notably in his work with director John Carpenter in Escape from New York, where he played a hardened military officer. His final years were marked by declining health, and he passed away in 1989 from cancer. He left behind a legacy that stands as one of the most iconic in Western cinema, particularly for those who appreciate the genre's anti-hero mythos. His life, however, remains a shadowy reflection of the roles he played, a man who lived on the edge, struggling with both his demons and his fame. Warren Oates' portrayal of Andrew Shelton in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman stands as a moment in television history, capturing the essence of a man torn between the rugged individualism of the Old West and the complex moral dilemmas of the modern world. Shelton's character was not a typical hero, but rather a troubled figure whose motives were often ambiguous, reflecting Oates' ability to play roles steeped in ambiguity and conflict. In this appearance, Oates showed an early mastery of playing characters with a darkness that made them both compelling and unsettling. Following his time on The Rifleman, Oates' career would span decades, with his most famous works coming in the 1960s and 1970s. He achieved notoriety for his roles in films like Two-Lane Blacktop and Badlands, which allowed him to carve a niche as a quintessential character actor. His presence was often one of gruff intensity, marked by a distinct blend of vulnerability and dangerous unpredictability. But Oates' life outside the camera was just as turbulent and marked by hardship. Despite his success, Oates' personal life was riddled with struggles. He dealt with multiple marriages, some of which ended in bitterness, and was known for his volatile relationships. His career, despite its breadth, was never as stable as many of his contemporaries, leading him to struggle with financial insecurity for much of his life. As much as his on-screen persona reflected a tough, no-nonsense figure, in real life Oates grappled with deep personal demons, including heavy drinking and battles with depression. The most significant of these personal challenges came in the early 1980s when Oates' health began to deteriorate. He was diagnosed with a serious heart condition, which led to multiple hospital visits. His struggle with his health was private, and the news of his decline was met with little fanfare from the public. Oates passed away on April 3, 1982, at the age of 58. Despite his early death, Oates' legacy as an actor who embraced the darkness of the human condition continues to resonate in both the roles he played and the stories of his turbulent life. As of now, there is little new information about his life beyond his death. His work remains influential, yet his personal history remains largely shrouded in mystery, with only glimpses of the man behind the camera emerging through interviews and rare personal accounts. Warren Oates' life is one of intense contradictions, a celebrated actor who was ultimately haunted by his own demons. Hope Summers, as Hattie Denton, made a memorable appearance in The Rifleman in 1958. Her character, a strong-willed, independent woman who ran the general store in the small western town, left an impression on viewers for her feisty attitude and no-nonsense demeanor. Hattie's interactions with the central characters, particularly Lucas McCain and his son Mark, showcased a level of complexity rarely seen in westerns of the time. Despite her tough exterior, Hattie revealed occasional vulnerabilities, offering glimpses of personal loss and longing that added depth to the role. After The Rifleman, Hope Summers' career continued, but her roles became fewer and more varied. She appeared in numerous television series, often in supporting roles that capitalized on her strong character presence. Notably, she was a fixture on shows like The Twilight Zone and Perry Mason, proving her versatility in both drama and suspense genres. However, her career was not without personal challenges. Off-screen, Hope Summers struggled with her health, which increasingly limited her ability to take on roles in the later years of her career. In the 1960s, a scandalous incident involving Summers emerged when she was briefly involved in a bitter dispute with a studio head over unpaid royalties. This caused a stir in Hollywood circles, but the incident was eventually swept under the rug. Summers also faced personal hardship, struggling with the loss of her mother, who had been a significant figure in her life. The grief took its toll, and she withdrew from the public eye for several years, retreating to a quieter, more private life. By the late 1970s, Hope Summers was largely absent from the entertainment scene. Her health issues, coupled with personal losses, led her to live in relative seclusion. Few knew the details of her final years, as she kept a low profile, declining interviews and public appearances. The last known information about her suggests she passed away in 1979, but due to her reclusive nature in her final years, specific details about her death remain largely unknown. Richard Anderson's portrayal of Duke Jennings in The Rifleman marked a pivotal moment in his career. His character, a rugged and morally complex rancher, added a distinct flavor to the series' narrative. Jennings was a man with a tough exterior but hidden depths, a portrayal that resonated with audiences. Anderson's performance as Duke was understated yet powerful, a perfect complement to the show's strong, action-driven plot. His role may have been short-lived, but it left a lasting impression, showing Anderson's ability to handle nuanced characters, even in a Western setting. After The Rifleman, Anderson's career continued to thrive, albeit with mixed results. He appeared in several TV shows and films, often typecast in roles that required strength and authority. His transition to more significant roles came with his portrayal of Oscar Goldman in the 1970s series The $6 Million Man and its spin-off The Bionic Woman. However, Anderson's personal life was far from the smooth, scripted world he inhabited on screen. Behind closed doors, Anderson's life was marked by turmoil. His marriage to actress Carolyn Jones, best known for playing Morticia Addams on The Addams Family, ended in divorce after just a few years. The split was fraught with bitterness and media speculation. Anderson was also known for his struggles with the Hollywood system, sometimes feeling like a pawn in a game of typecasting and studio manipulation. Yet, despite the setbacks, he remained a respected figure in the industry. Personal hardships didn't end with his career challenges. Anderson faced the dark side of fame, including brushes with scandal. Reports of substance abuse and conflicts with co-stars tarnished his public image, yet he managed to remain relatively elusive in terms of his private life. The intrigue surrounding him grew over the years, with few being able to distinguish fact from fiction about his persona. In his later years, Anderson's public appearances grew scarce, and the once vibrant actor faded from the Hollywood scene. By the late 2000s, Richard Anderson had largely disappeared from the limelight. Despite this, he remained a cult figure for many fans of his shows, particularly those who admired his portrayal of Oscar Goldman, a role that still holds a significant place in TV history. As of the last known information, Anderson passed away in 2017, with his passing marked by little fanfare, but a quiet acknowledgement from the entertainment industry. He left behind a complex legacy, both in front of the camera and within his personal life, one that continues to be remembered in whispered conversations among old fans and industry. Royal Dano's portrayal of Aaron Wingate in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman left an indelible mark on the show, capturing the complexities of the character with remarkable intensity. Aaron Wingate, a troubled man, epitomized the struggle between right and wrong. Dano's performance conveyed a raw, emotional depth, showcasing his ability to dive into darker, more conflicted characters. His portrayal was emblematic of the moral ambiguity that often defined the show's characters, and it cemented his status as a versatile actor capable of handling challenging roles in both television and film. Beyond The Rifleman, Royal Dano's career spanned multiple decades, during which he appeared in a variety of roles across westerns, dramas, and even horror films. However, his path was not without its struggles. Dano's personal life was filled with hardships, many of which unfolded behind closed doors. His battles with alcoholism and personal demons painted a darker picture of the man behind the characters. This deeply rooted inner turmoil affected his career, at times hindering his ability to take on leading roles and forcing him into more minor or background appearances in his later years. Though he continued to find work, Dano's personal life spiraled into obscurity as the years wore on. His reputation in Hollywood was tinged by rumors and the tragic undercurrent of his personal battles. At one point, Dano suffered significant health issues, which ultimately took a toll on his career. His withdrawal from the public eye left many wondering about the actor who had once captivated audiences with his intense and sometimes unsettling roles. Royal Dano passed away in 1994, his death marking the end of a career filled with highs and lows. As time passed, his legacy faded somewhat into the shadows, leaving only a few traces in the public memory. Despite his struggles, Dano remains a figure of interest for film and television aficionados, particularly for those who remember the haunting vulnerability he brought to the screen in roles like Aaron Wingate. To this day, his contributions to the world of acting remain part of the fabric of mid-20th century television. Search Dabbs Greer Finney the Rifleman 1958 and used in the 1958 television series The Rifleman. Dabbs Greer portrayed Finney, a character who appeared in the two-part episode The Wyoming Story. Finney was a minor yet memorable role, reflecting Greer's memorable role versatility in embodying various characters across numerous television series. Greer's extensive career spanned over 6 decades, during which he appeared in nearly 100 films and approximately 600 television episodes. His roles often depicted ordinary, everyman characters, which endeared him to audiences. Notably, he played Reverend Robert Alden in Little House on the Prairie, a role he held for nearly a decade. Born on April 2, 1917, in Fairview, Missouri, Dabbs Greer began his acting career in the late 1930s. He attended Drury University in Springfield, Missouri, where he was involved in theater. His film debut occurred in 1939, and he moved to Pasadena, California in 1943, where he became an administrator and acting instructor at the Pasadena Playhouse. Throughout his career, Greer appeared in various television series, including Gunsmoke, The Twilight Zone, and Perry Mason. Despite his professional success, Greer's personal life was marked by solitude. He never married and had no children, leading a private life away from the public eye. His dedication to his craft was evident, but he faced personal challenges, including battles with kidney and heart disease. Greer passed away on April 28, 2007, at the age of 90, at Huntington Hospital in Pasadena, California. He is interred in Peace Valley Cemetery in McDonald County, Missouri. In his later years, Greer continued to act, with his final role being in the 23 television series Lizzie McGuire. Endures through his extensive body of work, showcasing his talent and dedication to the acting profession. Michael Pate's portrayal of Brad Davis in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman marked a striking moment in his career, casting him as a troubled character with a mysterious edge. Pates Davis was a man of few words, but great depth, embodying the loner trope that haunted many westerns of the era. His rugged demeanor and complex motivations helped cement his place in the series, but it was the role's undercurrent of darkness that drew audiences in. Despite the limited screen time, Davis's role remained unforgettable for its tension and ambiguity, leaving viewers intrigued by the character's secrets. Off-screen, Pat's life was marked by complexities that mirrored his on-screen persona. Known for being intensely private, He navigated the harsh realities of a fluctuating career. After his role in The Rifleman, Pate struggled to maintain steady work in Hollywood. He found himself caught in the tide of the rapidly changing entertainment landscape, where his strong presence failed to align with the industry's evolving tastes. Yet, even as his acting career waned, Pate's personal life took center stage. One of the most notable episodes of his life occurred in the mid-1960s, when Pate's name became linked with a scandal involving financial troubles and questionable business dealings. It wasn't just the public's reaction that left a scar on his reputation. His personal demons, especially his struggles with alcohol, also became a focal point. Though he tried to rehabilitate his image, his internal battles seemed to follow him, affecting both his career and personal relationships. By the 1970s, Pate withdrew from the limelight, retreating from Hollywood and leading a quieter life. Little is known about his activities during these years, as his public appearances became sparse. In the years leading up to his death, Pate faded further into obscurity, with few details available regarding his final years. Despite a career that once seemed poised for greater success, Michael Pate became a tragic figure whose potential was ultimately overshadowed by his private struggles. His legacy, however, lives on in the shadows of his brief but memorable role in The Rifleman. John Anderson's portrayal of Cass Callicott in The Rifleman marked a defining chapter in his acting career. As the formidable and often morally ambiguous character, Anderson brought a raw edge to the role, becoming a memorable part of the show's ensemble. His character was a complex one, raw around the edges but capable of showing vulnerability, making Cass Callicott stand out as a figure that embodied both the lawless frontier spirit and a silent, sometimes tragic, humanity. Anderson's physical presence and deep voice made him an ideal fit for the role, allowing him to leave an indelible mark on audiences. After The Rifleman ended, Anderson's career continued, but with a tone that darkened over time. He appeared in various television series and films, including Bonanza and The Big Valley, but he became known for playing more intense, often sinister characters. In the late 1960s, Anderson's career took an unexpected downturn as he grappled with personal demons. Substance abuse issues, coupled with a series of failed relationships, cast a long shadow over his professional and personal life. Despite his earlier successes, his later years were marked by a series of struggles to regain his footing. Anderson's marriage to actress Claire Kelly ended tragically in 1971, when Kelly died unexpectedly. This loss devastated him and led him to retreat from the public eye for a time. The 1970s and 1980s found Anderson living a quieter life, appearing sporadically in minor roles. It was during this period that rumors circulated regarding his ongoing battles with alcoholism and depression, which became public knowledge when he made a few rare interviews discussing his difficulties in the industry. By the 1990s, John Anderson had largely faded from the Hollywood spotlight. His later years were marked by increasing isolation, and little was known about his personal life until his death in 1992. His passing was a quiet affair, with few details released to the public, leaving many to speculate about his final years. He was, at one time, regarded as a rising star, yet his legacy became more defined by his personal challenges than his career achievements. The dark undercurrent of his life serves as a reminder of the fragility of fame and the toll that personal struggles can exact on those who once seemed untouchable. Patricia Blair's portrayal of Lou Mallory in The Rifleman remains one of her most enduring roles. As the determined, compassionate widow, Lou's character often found herself caught between the complex morality of frontier life and her responsibilities as both a mother and a businesswoman. Though her role was somewhat secondary to the main storylines, Lou Mallory provided depth and emotional resonance to the series, contrasting the often stoic nature of the main characters. Blair's performance was nuanced, showing both strength and vulnerability as she navigated her relationships with the show's protagonist, Lucas McCain, and others in the tight-knit community. Outside of her role on The Rifleman, Patricia Blair's life unfolded in a series of dramatic twists that rivaled the stories she told on screen. Born in 1932, Blair's career began in the early 1950s, quickly establishing herself in film and television with roles in westerns and dramas. Her beauty and talent caught the attention of producers, but it wasn't until The Rifleman that she gained her most substantial fame. However, her life after the show was less glamorous and more complicated. Blair's career post-Rifleman never truly reached the same heights. She continued to make appearances in various television series, but most of them were fleeting roles, lacking the lasting impact of her time on the show. In the 1970s, she began to step away from acting, though she occasionally returned to the screen for guest appearances. But her true struggles lay outside of her professional life. In the 1960s, Blair found herself caught up in a highly publicized marriage to a much older, wealthy man who was known for his temper and controlling behavior. The marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leaving Blair to face the intense scrutiny of the media. The scandal surrounding her personal life seemed to tarnish her once promising career. Her reputation, once that of a talented and beautiful actress, became that of a woman who had struggled in the shadows of a failed marriage and a fading career. By the 1980s, Patricia Blair had faded from the public eye. She lived quietly, away from the Hollywood spotlight, and few knew what became of her in her later years. There were rumors of financial troubles, though nothing concrete ever surfaced. In the final years of her life, Blair became a recluse, and little is known about her final days. Some believe she died alone in obscurity, far removed from the limelight she had once enjoyed. Whatever happened in the years after her acting career ended, Patricia Blair's legacy lives on in the role of Lou Mallory, a strong yet tragic figure who gave the Rifleman a human heart. Denver Pyle's portrayal of Frank Hazlitt in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman was a role that stood out, particularly for the complexity and intrigue he brought to the character. As a seasoned actor, Pyle's performance as Hazlitt, a man with a murky past, set him apart from others in the Western genre. While the character was not a central figure, his appearance in the show left a lasting impression due to Pyle's ability to make Frank Hazlitt a man of mystery, someone whose true motivations were never entirely clear. This made Hazlitt a compelling character in a show defined by its strong leads and tight storytelling. After his stint in The Rifleman, Pyle's career continued to thrive, though often in roles that were far removed from the rugged Western archetypes. He was known for his versatility, having appeared in a variety of genres, including comedies and dramas. However, his personal life was fraught with difficulties. Behind the scenes, Pyle was deeply affected by the loss of his first wife, a tragedy that seemed to shadow much of his later years. His marriage to the actress, also marked by intense public scrutiny, ended in a bitter divorce that brought even more pain to his personal world. In the 1970s, Pyle found himself facing significant health problems, including struggles with his weight, which became a source of ridicule and contributed to his increasing sense of isolation. His career, too, was affected by his health, limiting his work in television and film to lesser-known roles. He managed to find occasional work in the 1980s, but by this time, his reputation as an actor was on the decline. Despite his struggles, Pyle continued to work in the entertainment industry, making sporadic appearances until his health deteriorated further. In his final years, Denver Pyle withdrew from the public eye. The toll of his personal hardships, his health issues, and a growing sense of regret over his career led to a quiet, almost tragic end to his once promising path in Hollywood. He passed away in 1997, largely out of the public consciousness, leaving behind a legacy marked by mystery, broken relationships, and a body of work that was often overshadowed by the shadows of his personal life. Rhys Williams portrayed Doc Burridge in the 1958 television series The Rifleman. As Burridge, he was the morally complex town doctor whose interactions often highlighted the harsh realities of frontier life. His role was marked by a sense of ambivalence, offering a subtle contrast to other characters in the show. Williams' portrayal was a layered performance, showing Burridge's struggles with personal responsibility and the harsh demands of his profession. However, Rhys Williams' career took a much darker turn after the show ended. Despite his early success, Williams faced considerable hardships in his personal life. His career was marred by personal struggles, including battles with alcohol, which began to overshadow his acting achievements. The pressures of fame, coupled with a series of failed relationships, led to his retreat from the limelight. He was known for his reclusive nature, often shying away from public events and interviews. In the years following The Rifleman, Williams faced a series of personal scandals. These incidents, often linked to his substance abuse issues, caused his reputation to deteriorate among peers and industry insiders. His physical and emotional toll from these struggles was evident in his later appearances, where his once strong performances had become increasingly erratic. One of the most tragic aspects of Williams' life was the toll his struggles took on his health. Despite occasional attempts to revive his career, he was largely forgotten by the public eye. His last known years were spent in relative obscurity, with few reports emerging about his life. He died in 1969, and the details surrounding his death remain somewhat mysterious. The enigmatic nature of his life, combined with his mysterious final years, has only added to the intrigue surrounding Rhys Williams. Jack Elam's portrayal of Gates in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman remains one of the most memorable performances of his career, despite the character's brief appearance. As Gates, Elam embodied a ruthless, cold-blooded figure, a reflection of his ability to bring depth to villainous roles. His portrayal of a merciless gunslinger matched his naturally rugged demeanor, a defining trait that helped him become a fixture in Western television and film throughout the 1950s and 1960s. Elam's unique features, his lopsided eyes, and intimidating facial expressions, were often leveraged to create characters that were menacing, unpredictable, and memorable. Elam's career in Hollywood, however, was not without its darker moments. He came from humble beginnings, born in 1920 in Miami, Arizona. His early life was marked by significant struggles, including health issues, with Elam undergoing numerous surgeries during childhood, which left him with his distinctive facial appearance. This uniqueness became his trademark, both a blessing and a curse. It allowed him to land roles that others might not have been considered for, but it also led to a life marked by typecasting. Despite this, Elam found a steady career playing antagonists in films like High Noon and Shane, with his sinister presence making him a fan favorite in the Western genre. Off-screen, Elam's life was shadowed by personal challenges and controversies. His first marriage ended in divorce, and he struggled with alcoholism, a battle that persisted through much of his career. Elam's personal turmoil seemed to follow him, sometimes overshadowing his professional achievements. There were reports of volatile behavior, and rumors circulated about his strained relationships with fellow actors. The tension between his public persona and private hardships gave him an air of mystery, as if his on-screen menace was a reflection of his internal battles. As the years went on, Elam's roles began to dwindle. He attempted to transition to more varied characters, but the public's demand for his menacing Western villains continued to define his legacy. The 1970s and 1970s saw a decrease in his visibility, with his final years marked by increasing seclusion. Jack Elam passed away in 2003 at the age of 82, having lived a life that mirrored the complexity and darkness of many of the characters he portrayed. The last known information about him indicates that in his final years, he had largely retreated from the public eye, a far cry from the larger-than-life figure that once dominated screens. His passing marked the end of an era for Western cinema, and Elam's hauntingly memorable characters continue to live on in the minds of those who remember him as one of the genre's true greats. Edgar Buchanan brought an unsettling mix of wisdom and world-weariness to his role as Doc J. Burridge in The Rifleman during the single season he appeared in 1958. Unlike the usual kindly small-town doctor, Buchanan's Burridge gave off an aura of secrets, weighted down by fleeting shadows that crossed his eyes when dealing with life and death in a frontier town. This subtle tension fueled rumors about whether the character hid personal regrets or darker motivations, and Buchanan's own background lent itself to such speculation. Before acting, he practiced as a dentist, a profession often linked to pain and confession, which he later mined for character depth. After The Rifleman, Buchanan moved between television and film but was dogged by reports of gambling debts and an abrupt divorce, which he never discussed publicly. He faced accusations in the early 1960s related to backstage arguments and temperamental outbursts, leading to brief blacklisting. Far from the genial image, Buchanan wrestled with chronic health issues and isolation, aggravated by Hollywood's indifferent attitude toward aging stars. His only son vanished in the late 1970s under mysterious circumstances, and this unresolved tragedy haunted the remainder of his life. Buchanan's final recorded appearance was a fleeting public event in 1978, where witnesses described him as distant and distracted, with a shrouded melancholy that left a sense of unfinished business. As no further news has surfaced about lost family or secret diaries, Buchanan's legacy remains clouded, more mystery than memory. Jack Crucian's portrayal of Doc Burridge in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman remains one of his most memorable roles. As the town doctor, Doc Burridge was portrayed as a somewhat grizzled, no-nonsense figure who provided a balance to the show's more heroic characters. His role was that of a steady, knowledgeable presence, a man of medicine who was not easily swayed by the chaos of the Old West. Despite being a secondary character in a show primarily focused on the dynamic between Lucas McCain and his son, Doc Burridge left a lasting impression on viewers with his deep voice and the weight of his years, embodying the archetype of the wise, experienced elder. After The Rifleman ended, Crucian's career took various turns, but not without its difficulties. While he found steady work in TV guest roles throughout the 1960s and 1970s, his personal life was marked by significant hardship. He faced struggles with alcohol, and there were rumors of personal demons that affected both his professional relationships and his emotional well-being. Crucian's life was marred by a string of failed relationships, and the pressures of Hollywood took their toll. His career never reached the heights many had expected, and though he continued to work in both film and television, the roles were less prestigious, and he often found himself in supporting or background parts. The actor's later years were largely private. His death in 2002 was met with little fanfare, a quiet end to a life that had been marked by both triumph and tragedy. Crucian's legacy in Hollywood remains as a solid character actor with a few standout roles, but a life full of personal struggles. His final years remain shrouded in mystery, with little known about his life after he faded from the public eye. What is clear, however, is that Jack Crucian's story is one of both achievement and the quiet burden of personal demons, a man whose successes were tempered by shadows. Joan Taylor's portrayal of Millie Scott in The Rifleman is a defining moment in television history. Millie, a strong yet compassionate widow, was an important figure who brought emotional depth to the series. Her character was a steady presence in the tumultuous world of the Wild West, often providing guidance to the protagonist, Lucas McCain, and his son Mark. However, behind the screen, Taylor's life was far from as stable as her on-screen persona. In the years after her role on The Rifleman, Joan Taylor found herself entangled in various personal challenges. Her career in Hollywood dwindled, and though she continued acting in smaller roles, she found little success comparable to her early fame. By the 1960s, Taylor's reputation became shadowed by a series of troubled relationships. She married twice, and both ended in failure. The most notorious of these was her brief marriage to actor Don Taylor, which became the subject of gossip due to allegations of infidelity and emotional abuse. Taylor's career was overshadowed by her personal struggles. She faced financial difficulties after leaving Hollywood, and reports surfaced of her battling depression and health issues. Despite these hardships, she managed to retain a level of privacy, largely avoiding the public eye. In the 1970s, Taylor made a quiet return to acting, but never regained the prominence she once enjoyed. She also sought solace in her work as a teacher, hoping to leave the bitterness of her earlier years behind. However, her reclusive nature meant that few knew the full extent of her personal pain, and much of her life after The Rifleman remains shrouded in mystery. The last known information about Joan Taylor is limited. She lived a quiet life after retiring from the public spotlight. In the early 2000s, she was reported to have passed away in relative obscurity, with few details surrounding her final years. Her legacy as Millie Scott remains, however, a testament to her strength as an actress, and a woman who endured more than many of her contemporaries ever knew. Vito Scotti's portrayal of Alfonso in the 1958 TV series, The Rifleman, stands out as one of his most memorable roles. Alfonso, a sharp and somewhat morally ambiguous character, brought a unique dimension to the show. Scotti, a versatile actor, imbued the role with complexity, displaying his ability to navigate both comedic and serious moments. His portrayal added an intriguing layer to the series, drawing the audience into the tension-filled narratives of the Old West. However, The Rifleman marked just one chapter in a long and varied career. Beyond this, Scotti's acting journey was not without struggle. His career spanned decades, during which he played numerous guest roles in television and film. Known for his talent in portraying various ethnic characters, he became a recognizable face in Hollywood, though his path was riddled with challenges. Despite steady work, Scotti's life took a darker turn after his career began to wane. Personal hardships surfaced, and rumors about his financial struggles and private life became public. His time in the industry was tainted by mounting personal pressures, which led to a reclusive lifestyle in his later years. Despite his fame, Scotti never fully escaped the shadows of scandal, often dealing with personal issues that caused tension in his relationships. By the late 1970s, details about his life became scarce. He retreated from the public eye, with few updates on his personal and professional life. There were whispers of his struggles with addiction and a general decline in both his health and finances. Ultimately, Vito Scotti's final years remained shrouded in mystery. The actor, once a vibrant force on the screen, quietly faded from the public consciousness. His last known appearance was in the early 1980s, but after that, no significant information about his whereabouts or condition emerged. As of now, the enigmatic actor remains an elusive figure in Hollywood's past. John Dehner's portrayal of Al Walker in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman showcased a nuanced, multi-layered character, one that remained a haunting figure in the show's history. As the hardened, calculating outlaw, Walker was an antagonist with depth, someone whose inner turmoil mirrored the violent world of the West. Dehner's performance was commanding, marked by a cold, menacing presence that made Walker a memorable, if tragic, figure. His role was not just that of a simple villain, but rather someone who, despite his ruthlessness, conveyed vulnerability in a starkly realistic way, adding complexity to his character. However, Dehner's life outside of the studio was filled with personal challenges that mirrored the darkness of the roles he often played. His career, primarily rooted in Hollywood, was riddled with personal struggles, both professionally and privately. He was known for his tendency to avoid the spotlight, preferring a life of relative seclusion. While his career seemed successful on the surface, Dehner faced a number of hardships, particularly in terms of his relationships. He had multiple failed marriages and a turbulent personal life that often clashed with his public persona. There were whispers of his inner demons, battles with alcoholism, and periods of profound isolation. While he was largely respected for his acting skills, Dehner's inability to fully reconcile his private life with his public image became a silent undercurrent to his career. As his acting roles dwindled, Dehner continued to find occasional work, though his presence in the industry became less frequent. The latter years of his life were marked by a gradual retreat from the entertainment business. In 1992, John Dehner passed away, leaving behind a legacy defined by powerful performances and a quiet, enigmatic life. Today, little is known about his final years, but the darkness and mystery surrounding his personal life persist as part of his lasting impression. Despite this, his work, particularly in The Rifleman, remains a testament to his talent and complexity. Chuck Connors is best remembered for his portrayal of Lucas McCain in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman. The character, a stoic, morally driven gunfighter and father, captured the essence of rugged individualism and resilience. Connors' commanding presence and nuanced portrayal of McCain made him an iconic figure in Western television. But Connors was more than just a television star. His life after The Rifleman was marked by complex personal struggles, controversies, and a career that was far from a straightforward success. While The Rifleman catapulted Connors into stardom, it also trapped him in a typecast that he struggled to break free from. His post-Rifleman career saw him in roles that did not match the fame of his earlier work, with many of his attempts in film and television failing to find the same level of success. Connors was also an accomplished athlete, having played professional basketball and baseball, but his sports career could not shield him from the dark side of fame. His personal life was filled with turbulence. Connors was married twice, and his relationships were often fraught with difficulties. His first marriage to Elizabeth Riddell ended in divorce, and he later married a woman named Kamala Devi. But that union was also short-lived. Connors was known for his rough temperament and was at times considered difficult to work with. The pressures of his fame, his personal demons, and a growing resentment of being typecast led to a decline in his career. The loss of leading roles was not just professional, but emotional, as Connors felt he had much more to offer than the roles he was getting. His battles with alcohol and a period of financial instability only compounded the sense of disillusionment in his life. In the years following his television stardom, Connors was haunted by health issues, including struggles with lung cancer, which would eventually claim his life. His death in 1992 was a somber conclusion to a life filled with both triumph and tragedy. There were whispers about his final years being marked by regret, as well as rumors of lingering bitterness over missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential. Connors' legacy is a bittersweet one. While he remains a beloved figure in the annals of television history, the man behind the iconic Rifleman was burdened by a darker, less celebrated reality. As for the last known details of his life, it seems that, after his death, Connors faded into relative obscurity. His story, however, remains a reminder of how the spotlight can shine brightly and, in the blink of an eye, leave its subject to wrestle with the complexities of personal life and fading fame. Glenn Strange's portrayal of Joey Cole in the 1958 TV series The Rifleman remains a memorable part of his career. As the rough, unpredictable character who appeared in a few episodes, Joey Cole was not one of the main characters but left a significant impression. Strange brought his trademark stoicism to the role, making the character's complex, sometimes violent nature resonate with viewers. While the role was short-lived, it showcased his ability to embody hardened, yet deeply troubled characters, adding a layer of mystery to the show's dynamic. Strange's career in Hollywood was extensive, though largely defined by his character roles in westerns and monster films. He had a steady stream of work throughout the 1950s and 1960s, often playing a variety of tough guys and villains. Notably, he portrayed Frankenstein's monster in several of Universal's later films, solidifying his place in the pantheon of iconic horror actors. His typecasting as a heavy or a monster was both a blessing and a curse, offering him employment, but limiting his range as an actor. Off-screen, Glenn Strange faced considerable personal hardships. Behind the scenes, his career had a darker side. He struggled with health issues, particularly alcohol, which marred both his personal life and professional reputation. His battles with substance abuse affected his career trajectory, causing him to miss roles and creating tension with some studios. Yet, he continued to work steadily through the years, even when his personal demons overshadowed his on-screen presence. In his later years, Strange's life took another unexpected turn. Despite the health issues that plagued him, he remained a beloved figure in Hollywood. His final years were marked by his enduring legacy as an actor, though his health deteriorated and he was less visible in public appearances. The last known information about Glenn Strange suggests he was in declining health, largely withdrawn from the limelight. He passed away in 1973, but his portrayal of Joey Cole and his contributions to Hollywood's golden age of television and film are still remembered by fans, and Paul Fix played Micah Torrance in The Rifleman, transforming the town's recovering alcoholic into a stoic, emotionally scarred figure with eyes that always seemed weighed down by regrets. His portrayal drew from Fix's own battles, lending an edge that made Micah's silences as meaningful as his words. After leaving The Rifleman, Fix continued acting, taking on supporting roles in film and television, but none matched his defining presence as Micah. His career was shadowed by personal adversity. Rumors of Fix's stormy relationship with colleagues surfaced, mainly due to his stubborn demeanor and outspoken criticism of directors who he felt misunderstood character depth. The estrangement from his daughter, actress Marilyn Fix, deepened in the late 60s, reportedly after a heated dispute over her engagement, never fully resolved. Fix's health declined in the mid-70s, marked by heart problems and depression, compounded by the loss of close friends like John Wayne, who had long been his confidant. By the time Fix passed away in 1983, he had retreated almost entirely from the public eye, a recluse at his Los Angeles home, reportedly spending his final months revisiting old scripts and keeping up correspondence with a handful of loyal friends. No recent documentation about his life has surfaced since, leaving his enigmatic legacy marked by shadows and unanswered questions. As we wrap up our journey through the story of The Rifleman and the lives of its cast, it's clear how much Mark McCain and Lucas McCain captured hearts across America, both on screen and off. With Chuck Connors transitioning from baseball to acting, and Johnny Crawford facing fame as a child, their paths weren't always easy. Connors often spoke about being typecast after the series, while Crawford worked to move past the shadow of his early role, even pursuing music later. Despite the ups and downs, their performances created powerful memories. It's amazing how this show touched so many families, not only for its dramatic Western scenes, but for the steady father-son relationship at its core. Did you follow their adventures growing up? What episodes or moments stayed with you, maybe reminding you of your own childhood or family? Share your stories and memories about The Rifleman in the comments, especially any special scenes or cast moments that meant something